The headline says not even CNN buys the claim that abortion is the most important issue for voters. This was an interesting exchange between, that's a CNN host on the left, CNN host Victor Blackwell, and that's Democratic Representative Judy Chu of California. Now, her claim, we don't even need to play the video. It's not important to play the video. We can, talk about it. But her claim was that essentially what's going on with the Supreme Court and what's going on with abortion, that's a motivating issue for voters. That's going to be what voters turn out to vote. They're going to vote based on that, like, women's rights, all this stuff. Well, it was interesting because typically you would expect a CNN host to agree. Well, Victor Blackwell had something different to say. He comes back and he brings in a poll. And he says, as Democrats say this issue should motivate voters, is a New York Times Siena College poll that asked about the most important issues for voters. It's still the economy, inflation. In fact, for Democrats and independents, abortion rights doesn't surpass inflation. You don't say. She comes back in and she's like, well, I've never seen such anger, outrage, and terror among women in this country everywhere I go. He comes back again. He was like, again, the polls show that the economy, inflation, and other items I just read are what's really motivating voters. So here's the thing, right? We talk about, this woman is living in a bubble. We just talked about a bubble with the little, she's in a bubble. She's in a bubble where she's talking about women's rights and abortion all day long. And maybe she's in a privileged position. I don't know. Maybe she's in a privileged position where, the price of gasoline, inflation, the price of regular goods that you go to the grocery store and buy, food, whether or not you have a job isn't playing a role in her decision making right now. That's a privileged position to be in. Republican, Democrat, I don't care. It's a privileged position. What she's lost touch with is the reality that there are tiers of issues that people care about when they go to vote, right? The first tier is always jobs in the economy. Do you have one? Is the economy ripe to help you get one? Along with that is inflation, because inflation affects the price of goods and services. So if you can't put food on the table, if you can't fill your car up with gas to get from point A to point B, you're not talking about abortion and climate change. You can't get there, right? It can't be a priority for you. If you can't put food on the table, nothing else matters. You can't feed your family, nothing else matters. Nothing else matters except maybe your health. Maybe your health is up there too. And by the way, those things become huge sources of stress and affect people's health. Tier 2 is what happens when you have the privilege to say, I don't need to worry about my finances. I don't need to worry about whether or not I have a job because I have one. I don't need to worry about gas prices because I can afford those things. Those people can then go talk about climate change, abortion, and whatnot. So in this election, and all the polling is showing it, economy, inflation, these things are going to be number one. This woman is living in a bubble. There's some other things that I think are going to be number one too. We talk about crime here a lot. It's affecting the cities around the country. People are worried about that. And a lot of people are starting to wake up, I think, and say a lot of these woke policies in these cities, this isn't going so well. If you can't walk out your front door and go to the grocery store and walk there in peace without worrying about your safety, that becomes a priority issue. Think about it like the core of what people care about. Whether or not you can put food on the table, the safety of yourself and your family, your basic needs. Not stuff that feels removed from you a little bit, right? These are your tier 1 issues. Also, I think what's going to be really interesting this election, you heard it here first, maybe not first, but you heard it here, is the parent vote. I'm really curious to see the reaction of parents who are looking at what's going on around the country and how all of this stuff that's happening in schools and how all of the mandates that are affecting their kids and the mask mandates and then the vax man and all that stuff and all the curriculum stuff we're seeing from, we put those videos up from libs of TikTok all the time, talking about the drag shows at the schools. And how much do parents really care about that stuff? I think the parent vote is going to be key this time around as well. But again, you can't put food on the table. You're not worried about anything else. You got to eat, right? Your family's got to eat. That's number one. Okay, so it's sad, but these congressmen and women sometimes, the bubble they're in is just, I don't know, that's some sturdy shit that they're living in. They talk to I went to a lunch and I spoke to other congresswomen and they also said, did you get out into the communities? Did you talk to people? Because I'm not hearing that. When I talk to women, the concerns I have are about jobs and about economy. Before I ever hear about abortion, I hear about whether or not they can feed themselves, their families, and how well off. I hear about their 401k shrinking. I hear about fears about money. Take over. They take over, right? For everybody. If you like the short clip, you can catch another one here, or you can catch the full episode right here.